Welcome to Law by Simpsons. This video will be on duress. We'll be going through what is duress, duress of person, duress of goods, and economic duress. And lastly, we'll be addressing remedies available, and all of this will be in terms of The Simpsons. So first of all, what is duress? Now, it's quite an interesting part of contract law. I personally like it because this mirrors the worst human behaviour in attempts to seek economic or material gain. And the fragile or the fragility of innocent victims and the manner in which case law and the Australian consumer law seek to protect victims of duress is quite unforgiving. So what is duress? So a good description of duress, it's effectively illegitimate pressure or threats exerted by one party to force another party to consent to a contract against the latter party's will. So the choice of the oppressed party in remedies would be to rescind the contract. Therefore the contract is voidable and so the contract is voidable. We'll discuss that in remedies later on. So, the first thing I'll do is I'll go through generally the elements of duress. It's firstly, I have to ask: was the pressure improper? In addition to that, whether there was a relationship between the parties. Thirdly, whether the defendant's motivation in exerting the pressure was improper. Fourthly, whether the outcome of the application of the improper pressure results in a bargain which is intrinsically unfair to a party. So effectively, the party that has been that's a victim to the duress is now put in an unfair position. That's of the plaintiff. And lastly, whether a plaintiff felt sufficiently pressured to enter into the contract. So pressure of the plaintiff. So this is what you generally have to ask. So one essential aspect to a claim of duress is that there had been exertion of illegitimate pressure, and that's the most important thing to take away from this. Let's get into some examples according to The Simpsons now. So firstly, we're going to get Homer, Marge, and Mr. Burns. Okay, let's put these to the side. So, I think that's the best way to set it up. So let's say that Mr. Burns and Homer are entering into a contract of employment, where generally the terms is Mr. Burns offers $10 an hour in return for 8 hours work. Now, we all know that Homer's been at the nuclear power plant for quite a while, and let's say after a few years Mr. Burns attempts to renegotiate and says, now I want to renegotiate this contract, you'll be getting $6 an hour. Now, Homer effectively says, no, I don't want to do that. So in return, Mr. Burns says to Homer, actually we might get Bart as well in, you'd hate if something happened to your family because you don't take the deal. effectively, I will hurt your family if you don't take this deal. Now, most cases of duress, this is duress to the person. Now, most cases of duress to the person wouldn't be so explicit, so you wouldn't have parties, defendant and plaintiff, being so outrightly threatening. Just generally due to commercial settings, most business savvy people are aware that they can get in a lot of trouble for that. But how about just even a comment to the effect of, you'd hate if something happened to your family, I might have to pay them a visit. Now, this, you'd have to ask yourself what. So effectively, Homer agrees to $6 an hour, and that's what's happened. Now, Homer comes to you as a lawyer or a solicitor and asks what remedies are available to him, because this has just happened. Now, money paid or contracts entered into under duress are recoverable or rescindable. So let's say, instead of this being a contract, Mr. Burns said, give me $500 or I'll hurt your family. So that money would be considered recoverable. Contracts entered into under duress would be rescindable. Now, this is on. Now, one of the main aspects of duress is that the duress must actually cause fear. Must actually cause fear. Okay, so that's duress of person. Duress to the person. Now we're going to do an example of duress of goods. So let's use someone we haven't used before. I don't think I've used Krusty much yet. Let's say Krusty is in need of. Actually, that would be more economic. So duress of goods is, let's say, Sideshow Bob and Krusty. Krusty has his monkey friend. Now, really bad at drawing monkeys. That's my attempt. Let's say that Sideshow Bob says to Krusty, give me $500 or your monkey will get it. Or your monkey will get it. A direct threat made. So in return, Krusty gives him the $500. Now, this would be considered duress of goods. So this involves the unlawful taking, detention, damage, destruction of a person's goods. Now, money paid for the release of these goods or to prevent the unlawful seizure is recoverable in the event of an action for restitution. So if there's a promise to pay for the release of goods, and if the seizure was wrong to begin with, then such promises would be unenforceable. So effectively, if Krusty was to give Sideshow Bob $500 for the release or for the safety of his monkey, that money would be recoverable due to duress of goods. The last type of duress that we're going to go through is economic duress. So for economic duress, we're going to use Mo, Mr. Burns. Now let's say that Mo enters into a contract with Mr. Burns for the supply of beer to his tavern. And in return, Mo pays $2 a litre. So let's say that this contractual relationship goes on for quite a while, and after a year, let's say Mr. Burns wants more money. Or let's say that there's a big shipment of 1,000 litres, or a big shipment of 10,000 litres coming in. So the cost of this would be $20,000. So $20,000 is to be paid to Mr. Burns in return for 10,000 litres of the beer. And let's say it's it's the night of New Year's Eve at 6 p.m. And Mr. Burns goes, no, I'd like to actually charge you at $5 a litre. So instead of $20,000, I want you to give me $50,000. And I'll give you the beer. Now this is 6 hours before the clock strikes midnight. And probably about 4 hours before people start getting into the bar. So pretty much Mo knows that he can sell the beer for, say, $10 a litre. So even though he's paying more, he's still going to make money, and he needs to do this. He needs that beer. There's nowhere else he can get it from. So he reluctantly pays. Now, what remedies are available to Mo and his tavern? So I'll explain economic duress. Economic duress is the improper pressure applied to a person designed to affect contractual, proprietary, or other rights of a person. So if Mo's paid $20,000, he has a contractual right to possession of that beer. Now, Mr. Burns is applying improper pressure, which affects his right to that beer. Now, this duress being applied has now cost Mo $30,000 extra, which is reluctantly paid. So as long as the pressure is what played part in the decision, Mo can recover that $30,000 due to economic duress. So a case that I'll take you through is North Ocean Shipping Company against Hyundai Construction. So in this case, effectively, North Construction was building a ship for Hyundai Construction. Now, due to the yen dropping, North Ocean Shipping Company increased the price to finish making the boat. Now, this was done with very little notice, and after contracts were already entered. Reluctantly, Hyundai Construction had to agree because they needed the boat for shipping. Now, this is a case of economic duress. They're affecting the contractual, proprietary, or other rights of a person by applying improper pressure. And once again, money is recoverable under economic duress. So, we'll conclude there. Those are the 3 types of duress, and that's examples of them according to The Simpsons. I hope this was helpful, and thank you for watching.